Hey guys, Ben Lawwell here with the Lawwell Company team. Today, I am interviewing Lucas Cord with Cord Construction. We're going to talk about all the great stuff you need to know about the building process. Let's head in. What's up guys, Ben Lawwell here with the Lawwell Company team at Keller Williams Legacy. Today, I am interviewing Lucas Cord with Cord Construction. How are you, Lucas?
Good, sir. Thank you for having me.
Cool, buddy. Hey, so today, let's start with our first question. What entices people to build their first property or even their second or third property versus resale?
Well, what we run into a lot is when people are doing their home shopping, they run into issues where this house is what they want or this house has what they want, and they can't get exactly what they want out of available properties.
Right, yeah.
And so what we can do is we can start from scratch and not have to go through the renovation process.
Right.
And make the home what you want from the start instead of working towards that over time.
Yeah, here's my list of what I want in the property. Can you do this?
Exactly.
And then you kind of work with them at the end of the day and say, hey, you know, we can do this list of items. This is what the house is going to look like. And then you provide them kind of like a conceptual plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And then, you know, a lot of it is the convenience factor. You know, growing up as a kid, my mom and dad were always renovating their project. And as someone who spent most of their childhood living in renovations, it's not fun. So you live somewhere else, you let me build the house, and then you move in and you're ready to start living instead of constantly going through the process for a few years to make the home yours.
That sounds like a good plan to me, honestly. Sounds easy.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that brings me to my second question. What enticed you to get into the building industry?
Well, growing up, my dad was a builder. He was a firefighter, and all firefighters work second jobs. And so as a kid, I was always hanging around job sites as a gopher when I was really young. And then, you know, I started actually working with him and for him when I was probably 12 years old, and it just kind of always stuck.
I love that. See, you were pretty much the mascot before you were the actual builder.
Something like that.
Yeah, I love that. So what would you say is the biggest mistake home buyers make in the building process?
Well, what we run into a lot is people really trying too hard to follow the trends and not necessarily making the home theirs. You know, trends change all the time. The color of the year, one year for Sherwin-Williams will be out the next year.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite, we did a renovation a few years ago on a kitchen, and it was navy and gold.
I remember that trend. It was here and gone in a matter of a year. Yeah.
I think 4 weeks after we completed it, I read an article that said navy and gold was dead, and you know, we're not going to redo it now.
Yeah.
So what I tell everyone is this is your home. You're going to live in it. Mm-hmm. We're going to make it what you want. Pinterest doesn't matter. What they're doing on HGTV doesn't matter. You know, the way I look at it is if you're building a house to live in, build it for yourself.
Makes sense.
If you're building a house to sell, let's build it for the trends and what's selling at that time.
That makes sense. Now, do you keep in mind like the long-term goals? Like, hey, you know, if you're doing this kind of design, do you kind of tell them, hey, this probably won't be saleable in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I try to not go, I try to keep clients from going on that super unique, super targeted selection that they're making, whether it be countertops or floors or whatnot.
Right.
But like I said, at the end of the day, you know, we're working for the client and we want them to be happy. But I do try to always look at a property as an investment and make sure I'm not steering clients into money they can't recoup.
That 100% makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Now, it brings me to my next question. What is a trend in home building that you would rather see die than build again?
That's a tough question.
That is a tough question.
Maybe standalone tubs.
Standalone tubs?
Yeah.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, they're, in my professional opinion, they are extremely expensive to buy. The tub fillers and the faucets are a whole lot higher than normal bathtubs.
Okay, I can see where you're going with it.
And, you know, I'm a big guy, so personally, I can't fit in one. And that's a trend that we're seeing a lot here lately that people love, but I'm just like,
yeah,
not for me, not at my house.
Okay. Well, I can understand that sort of. It makes sense from a financial perspective.
Right.
Why would you buy the most expensive thing when you can do this and spend your money elsewhere?
We do a lot of standalone or not standalones, but we do inserts.
Yeah.
Tile around the edges. They're a lot bigger. They're a lot more cost effective, and to me, you're not sacrificing any of the design or the aesthetic when you go that route.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's a good answer, I think. So, Lucas, what type of new amenities are you putting in your kitchens nowadays?
So, in this house in particular, we were able to go with the hidden pantry. Gives you ample storage without using up a ton of your space inside, and it's a way to put things out of sight and out of mind that a lot of people have really appreciated in this house.
Awesome. So Lucas, what would you say separates a production builder versus a custom builder?
Well, as custom builders, we tend to work with a lot fewer clients.
Okay.
So we can put a little bit more time and energy into each job that we do.
Makes sense.
And then being a custom builder, there are things that certain clients will teach us along the way, or features they'll ask for that we can start to offer clients in the future.
That's nice.
One thing we try to put in all of our houses is, I call it the breaker panel for your water. Each bathroom has its own zone and its own lever for hot and cold. So if you're to have a plumbing emergency, you walk over here, you shut that bathroom off, and the rest of the house stays working.
That is amazing. My goodness.
It's one of those features that we like to add, even though a lot of people won't even see or know about it.
Yeah, that's fancy stuff right there. That's good stuff. I like it. So what's like the average timeline, would you say, with the build process? And then what on average, what kind of delays do you see with the process?
So our goal with every build that we do is 6 months.
Okay.
But that's starting correctly.
Yeah.
That's having, I always like to say we're going to have 95% of our decisions made before we stick a shovel in the ground and start working.
Right.
Delays come from the weather. Here in Central Kentucky, the last few years, we've lived in Seattle, Washington, and it's rained.
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's, so depending on what time of year we start and how quickly we can get the house dried in, weather can be a real inhibitor for us.
I know I haven't been able to mow my grass for the last 2 weeks, so I'm living in a rainforest.
Exactly.
Right now.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The other big delay that we run into are change orders and changing our mind.
You get a lot of that, don't you?
Yeah, we do. And I understand that your wants change, or you find something that you think will fit better after the process starts. But anytime we have an issue like that where we're changing last minute, that can cause delays due to supply chain, inventory, that can cause delays from having to actually go back in and redo some of the work we've already done.
Yep.
When we have our crews on site, we bring them in to do their job, and then they go on to the next one. And if we're having to bring one guy back to make a change, that could delay us significantly, waiting on him to work us back into the schedule. So
Lucas, what would you say sets you apart from other builders in Central Kentucky?
Well, we strive to bring a level of customer service to the process that I feel like a lot of other builders don't necessarily do.
Okay.
We want to communicate, we want to help, we want to walk through this entire process with you from start to finish. And then, honestly, the other part of it is we named our business Cord Construction. We take great pride in our name, and we take great pride in our work. I wanted to make our business a reflection of myself, and that's why I put my name on the company.
I love that. Anything else you want to tell the folks watching?
If y'all are in the market for a new house, give Ben a shout for your lots, and give us a shout for your design and construction needs, and we'll do our best to have everybody get you taken care of.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned next week. I'll have another video for you. Have a great day.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.